using herbs is essential to our, healing as a nation. Because like you said, as Jamaicans, herbs is something that is in a majority of Jamaican households, and every sickness, every illness, or every kind of issue that we have, herbs is kind of supplied to on a demand to kind of heal those areas. But a lot of us, as the generations are as time is going on and the generations is coming through, we're losing sight and grounding of herbs and the importance of that. A lot of us is kind of feels like herbs is a myth, almost like it's not actually real, and it's just this idea that our grannies used to give us back in the days or something, when really and truly it has a lot of purpose and a lot of meaning. So I think that is something that I would love to kind of touch on, and how essential that is for our healing as a nation, and how that was something I wanted to
Well, I say that the way that we see herbs today is conditioning. It's conditioning from Western culture. They want us to see herbs this way because it benefits certain industries to keep us seeing herbs as some not even mystical thing. We see it as a primitive thing, which is unfortunate because we are nature, just like the herbs are nature. It's a part of this space that we live in. As we are a part of it, the plants are a part of it, and a necessary part of it as well. But they're there for us. They're there as we are here for them as well, because it's symbiotic. You know what I mean? So, but the herbs are allies to us in many, many, many different ways. In a natural way, so we don't have to, go and do all these unnatural things that we've become now used to know. It's become normal for us to go and get these this alternative. They don't call them alternative medicine, but to me it's alternative medicine. These alternatives to healing. That's not healthy.
That's good. Yeah, we should look at their work as alternative for sure.
Yeah, of course. That is the alternative. Nature cannot be the alternative.
Yeah.
Nature must be first if we are nature.
Yes, I love that.
So there's so many different ways that herbs serve us. Even just now, me and you come on the live and we're irritable and we're anxious and just a lot of things happening from the day and so on, and we know that we can grab a cup of tea and we know that we can have some herbs that's gonna calm us down or lift our spirits, or alter our moods, or shift our hormones in a certain way that will get us feeling more balanced, right? So there are many different ways to use herbs. As I said, you can use it for mood. There are herbs that they call adaptogens, right? Which I think that women need to familiarize themselves with much more, because as I said, we are walking hormones. We are constantly changing. Our hormone balance is constantly changing. We're very sensitive to everything in our environment. We're sensitive to sound. We're sensitive to fragrances. We're sensitive to conversations. We don't know, sometimes we walk away from a conversation or from overhearing something and it's affected us in some kind of way. We hear something, we see something on social media, even just the normal hormonal changes that are happening to us. We know what our cycle is like. Our 28-day cycle is changes in hormones for all the 28 days, So women can be moody a lot, you know, and men need to understand that this is why we're sometimes the way we are. You know, I was saying to a friend the other day that if he wants to talk to a woman about certain things, there are certain times of the month to do it. There are certain times of the month where it's best to do it, right? If you do it in some time, she's gonna eat off your head. She's not gonna hear it. She don't want to hear what you have to say during them times. That she's gonna yam off your head, right? So you have to know how to approach a woman during these times, and so this is a part of sitting in your womanhood, is knowing that this is a part of who you are. There are hormonal changes happening all the time, right? And so sometimes things can get out of balance, especially because we don't live as natural as we should, right? There are so many things getting thrown off. And so we have to look to herbs that are going to help us to balance, to bring back balance and ease us out, right? So with not only herbs too, because we have to find other ways to soothe ourselves, because we need soothing. We need constant soothing. So even if you don't have a man that can soothe you, I always said this is a really good practice to just sit and do this sometimes to yourself. You know, just soothe yourself. That's it.
I don't do this.
Yeah, man, this is it. You'll find that you feel different after a few minutes of just doing this.
Yeah.
Right? Because women, as I said, we feel. We feel a lot. So we sometimes need that healing. So adaptogens are really good. One adaptogen that I recommend is shatavari. It is it's a root. It's one of the herbs they call the queen of herbs in the Ayurvedic system. My friend actually sells it, and I use it. Sometimes I put it in my tea, and it's a herb that women can use through any phase of life. Like if you're pregnant, if you're breastfeeding, you know, right throughout your cycle, you can use it. Shatavari. It's Shatavari. Shatavari. Right. So, and there are other adaptogens as well that are good for women. Ashwagandha is one, you know, raspberry leaf is really good for balancing out hormones as well. And I also recommend that women get the iron herbs, the iron rich herbs, because a lot of times, right, that's exactly how you spell it. So there's some herbs that are iron rich. Women need to go into using those herbs as well. Yes, shatavari, red raspberry leaf, stinging nettle is also good. Yarrow, and some of these herbs are in my 9 Goddess Room tea. But I do recommend. Let me tell you something I did the other day. I got the shatavari, right? I got some maca powder, maca root. I got ashwagandha and cocoa, and I made a tea out of it. Yeah, sarsaparilla is always good. Sarsaparilla is like key. You have to have some sarsaparilla. Vervain too. Vervain is really good for women as well. Shea Darling is also good for women, and it is one of those herbs that's good for the nervous system as well. So it's good. It'd be good for women. Good for balancing out the hormones again. Good for, you know, bringing ease. Yeah, so I made a tea out of that, and I swear, like literally moments later, I felt like I drank a cup of coffee. My mood was lifted. I felt energetic, because sometimes, you know, we lose our energy a lot, especially because we lose so much blood, you know, for the month. And so our energy can be low a lot. And the hormonal imbalances can cause us to, you know. So immediately I felt like I drank a cup of coffee. I was ready. I felt like Superwoman after that.
Really?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah, you have to give it. You have to definitely share some of these combos with Strictly Queens so we can provide them to our sisters. Yes, honestly, this sounds like the
Yes.
combo.
Yes. Yeah. Matter of fact, we'll talk.
Yeah.
We'll talk. We'll talk. Like I definitely could do something at the retreat with all of that involved because I make a really nice chocolate tea.
Oh,
I'll tell
good. Yes, I'm excited.
you.
No, that is. I think what you just mentioned, I think, is So how often do you think people should intake herbal medicine?
Every day. Every day. As I said, because we're not living in the most natural way,
Yeah.
we have to use herbs as our allies. We have to have them every day. There are some things that we're just going to implement every day. And as I said, as a Jamaican, that's something that we're used to. We're used to using herbs all the time. We get up and we have tea every morning, you know. So I'd say every day. Shatavari is one herb as a woman that you can use every day. As I said, it's one of the most beneficial herbs for the womb. They call it the queen of herbs for women, right? So every day. There are some herbs that you don't have every day though, you know, like the cleansing ones.
Yeah.
You know, you want to pace the way that you use those. Yeah. But those serve a purpose as well. You know, you want to use those herbs when you want to clear up, you know, certain things like maybe overgrowth of candida, maybe, you know, you have, you know, you want to cleanse your gut. You know, you want to cleanse your system, you want to, you know, maybe you're having challenges with your eliminations, which is not good, right? You want to cleanse your blood as well. And all of these things, generally herbs bring support to your liver. Yep. So bitter herbs, that is. So those serve a purpose as well. Herbs serve a purpose as again in giving you energy, strengthening. As all of the herbs that I spoke about are great for strengthening the womb. And there are different ways that you can have them and use herbs, but I think the safest way for regular folk to have herbs, unless you're being treated by a herbalist or you know what you're doing, then the best way to have them is in teas, right? So you do an infusion with hot water and the herb.
Yeah, that's, I think, we mentioned about like herbalists and a lot of, how can I say, maybe here in the UK, for me personally, I don't really, there's not a much herbalist that we kind of have over here. We have herbalists, but you know, those are coming from, you know, with ancestral history and teachings to herbal um herbal lifestyle and liberty, but at the same time, the resource as well to herb here as well. So in terms of what should somebody look for when they're speaking to a herbalist, that's what I'm trying to ask, because I think that there's a lot of herbalists out there, but what do you advise is like crucial that you should look for in herbalists?
Well, personally, I'm into spiritual herbalism. So if you're talking to me about herbs, this is just me personally, right? Because I know everybody is different. But if you're talking to me about the spirit of the herb, then you're speaking to me. You understand? Yeah. Because you're not just talking about what it's going to do physically. You're talking about the spiritual aspect of it, you know, and that part a lot is important because generally people don't know that, or not that they don't know, they don't realize or acknowledge that a lot of our illnesses are related to something spiritual. You know, and sometimes when you understand the spirit of a herb, you understand, you know, or when you're guided to a specific type of herb, it's because there's something within your spirit that needs healing, right? That is connected to that herb. Because again, for me, herbs are spiritual, you know, and they serve different purposes spiritually, and sometimes they will come to you as well, you know, because you need them. They find you. How do I'm trying to think of a herb. As I said, okay, I can think of one person. She's Karen Rose, Empress Karen Rose. I'm drawn to her because of her approach to herbs is spiritual. I met another woman. I tend to like female herbalists more for some reason. I met another elder in Portland, and she was very knowledgeable of herbs, very knowledgeable. I mean, she even wrote a book, you know, and everything that I sat and spoke to her about, I was just sitting and listening to her talk all day about all that she had learned about herbs, all that she knew about herbs, all the studies that she did on herbs. And, you know, she was able to talk about the traditional uses as well as the modern uses, and some of the research that is being done on certain herbs, and you know, certain herbs that she thought, because she knows that I make skincare and hair care products. So she was telling me about some herbs that I could use and that I should look further into researching.
Yeah.
And that's another thing about herbalists. When you meet a herbalist who is not trying to use the allopathic way of treating you, which is to get you to treat a symptom and then you keep coming back to them for options and not actually healing, and not actually realizing that you are a part of your healing as well. So when a herbalist is telling you that, listen, it's not me doing it, it's you, right? And this work is you, and you have to be dedicated to it, and you have to know that the herbs are your allies. It's not me. You know, I'm just showing you the way. I'm just, you know, giving you the tools that you can go and heal yourself. Because I know me, I heal you.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to heal yourself.
So that's one of the main things. If they're telling you that, if that's what they're sounding like, you know, you have to know, become a healer, because you are your own healer.
You are. I think so. I think that's very essential what you touch base on with learning about herbalists, because you have to come with a direction of what speaks to you. You have to find somebody that really speaks your language, or your kind of your intake to the knowledge.
Right.
And what would you advise? One of my last questions would be like, what would you advise is a starting point for somebody that would want to get into healing through herbs? Like, where should they start off? Like, what is the base herb, do you think, introduce yourself to, or a practice that you know, sisters should kind of introduce themselves to?
There is no one herb. I think the only thing I will say is that what I've learned about herbs is that in healing is that there are steps. And maybe 2 simple steps. Cleanse and then heal. You have herbs that cleanse and you have herbs that heal. And you cannot heal before you cleanse. And most people run away from the cleansing because it requires bitters. But
Bitter discipline also.
Yes, but you need that bitter because that bitter is gonna deal with that. Bitters is good to drink when you're dealing with some shadow work because that is what you need.
It's true. It's very true. And I think bitters get easier over time. I don't know about anyone else, but
It's
for me,
true.
it does get easier over time. I think in the beginning it's like, yo, this is crazy. But after a while, yeah, you definitely, your body starts to call for it.
Yes. Yeah. But I wouldn't say there is any like one herb, you know.
I think cleanse.
Firstly, as I said before, keep it simple with teas, you know, and read, read books. Not only read books. Here's a good thing to do. Go outside. Herbs are everywhere. And one thing you have to learn, and this is, I'm a student of mental discipline. And as a student of mental discipline, what you learn of a thing called observation, right? And how important observation is in your mental discipline because it teaches you about awareness. You become aware of your environment, aware of everything. You see everything, nothing don't pass you, right? And with herbs, observation is important because you learn a lot about herbs through just observing them. And that's how a lot of our ancestors learned herbs as well, because you learn the nature of the herbs. And so in learning the nature of the herb, you learn about the uses of them. So go outside, look at the herbs that are around you. There are lots everywhere have herbs. You have some wild herbs, even in the most concrete jungle.
Yeah.
You will have some herbs growing up through the cracks there, right? Study the herbs that are in your environment. A lot of times, the herbs that come to where you are is because you need them. That's why they're there. So study them, understand what their uses are, learn them, use them, read up on them. You know, that's the best thing that you can do is equip yourself with knowledge about the herbs.
Yeah.
You know? And then the internet is there. Everything that you need to know about herbs are there. You know, even yesterday I was talking to and I'm always curious about herbs, so I always want to learn more, you know, and even about herbs that are from other places. I love, yes, it's good to use herbs that are in the place where you are because I feel like they're there because you need it. Just like marijuana, I feel like came to Jamaica and became such a thing in Jamaica because we needed it here, right? I went off on a tangent. What was I saying? Oh man, I was saying study the herbs in your area. Oh man, I lost it.
Yeah.
I lost it. Damn it. I was getting to something good.
You're talking about herbs in your area, and then you before you reach there, you was talking about always researching your own herbs
Study.
online. Yep, studying your own
Study,
herbs.
yes. Know as much as you can about them. Learn as much as you can. As I said, there is. Oh, what I was telling you was, I had met
Yeah,
these young women.
came to me the same time.
I met these young women about a year ago. I think I met them, right, through my nephew. And they're from, I think they're from Indonesia, I think, somewhere on that side. But they ended up buying my Pum Pum Steam. And so they were telling me about the herbs that, because, you know, in a lot of these cultures that haven't been so influenced by Western culture, they still have a lot of these ancient traditions. You know, so vaginal steaming isn't strange to them. It's become new to us because we're so far from what our ancestors were doing. But vaginal steaming is very, very normal to them. And so she was telling me about herbs that they used on their end. And she showed me a picture of it, and I was like, but this looks like a herb that we have here, right? And she told me the name, but I didn't remember the name. But anyway, the same herb that we have here, I went and looked it up, and it ended up being a herb that was beneficial for the womb. So, you know, I was like, but that's interesting. But I really wanted to know the name of the herb. So yesterday I got the chance to talk to her again. And so she told me the name of the herb. So I'll be doing some research. I don't know if they're the same herb or if they're in the same family, but I'll definitely be doing, you know, more research, because that's going to help me know to be able to help more women.
Right.
You know, just getting that knowledge about, you know, a plant from an ancient culture, you know, that is useful for the womb, and I can find a herb that is the same or in the same family here that will be useful to us. So every time you get an opportunity to learn something about herbs, take it.
Yeah. Just keep looking and seeking deeper, further understanding of the herbs. 100%.
Right.
I think that's a great way to look at it, because there's so much, so much.
Yeah. And you can't know all of them,
Yeah.
because in different regions there are so many different. In the Caribbean, here in Jamaica, the herbs that we have here are different from the herbs in North America. The herbs in Africa that's a whole different ball game.
Right.
We haven't touched there so yet, right?
Right.
And we have plenty. And I don't know how we'll be able to learn all of what is in Africa. There's a guy that I follow on here. Most people probably would call him an Obia man still, but he knows a lot about African herbs. He's Nigerian. And sometimes he talk about some herbs. I've never heard of that in my entire life. Never heard of that. Right. And so even in Europe as well, there are herbs that are different from herbs, you know, in different places, but they're, as long as they're alkaline, they serve purpose.
Yeah. I think, I'm so excited, because I feel like for me, I have definitely been on my mum, she's like I wouldn't say she's a herbalist, no, but from a very young age, she's literally installed like herbal liberty into our liberty, especially as a Rasta woman. That is something that she kind of incorporates for different healing purposes and ways of life. So, but I think I'm ready to kind of, you know, channel that journey for myself, because sometimes as a child, for somebody as a that gives you herbs for different reasons, you now need to kind of step away to kind of do your own research and healing on herbs that is more aligned with who you are now as an adult, as a woman. And I think that's something that I'm really embarking on my journey 100%, and I can't wait to kind of learn more through you as well, and the teachings that you do, because even though I feel like I have knowledge on herbs, and my understanding is very much being provided through what my mother has taught me, which I'm grateful for,
which is good.
which I'm
a great way, you know. That's how we should learn, through our bloodline, you know. Everything. Matter of fact, I even think that herbalists, you know, in African culture, we are who our ancestors were, you know. So there are certain things that are passed down through our ancestors. So if in Africa, if your mother or your grandmother or somebody in your line was not a herbalist, you couldn't be a herbalist. You understand? So certain gifts are passed down through bloodline. So there are things in our culture that we have to learn that gets passed down, you know. And I think that's one of the things that's missing also from us, is that we're not passing down anything as young people. We're not talking to the elders and asking them questions and trying to learn more and, you know, dig things out of them. I have to dig from my grandmother most times, because you know, she left Portland and came to Kingston, and it's like, you know, Portland is a forgotten place. She don't want to talk about this and at all, because she programmed into thinking that Kingston is where it is at, and you know, Portland is backward. We ask me about them places from, you know what don't talk about that. You know what I mean? But a lot of the history is there through them. They know, they have the knowledge. And so you have to sit at their feet and ask them questions and learn
Even
from
if they don't want to, because it's just like me with my mom. I ask her certain things about herbs and stuff. She's like, "That's what me for know already," and I'm like, "No, I don't know." Like I'm just meant to know, and it's like,
No, you
you have
can't.
to
You
push those
can't.
conversations, push those
Right.
barriers.
And even sometimes they know they may not have the knowledge the way that you do, or even to express it the way that you would, you know. But they know little things. So if you listen and hear them talk, you know, my grandmother, one of her favorite food is susumba. And I know susumba is also really good for gut health as well, you know. So I try to talk to her and hear what are her stories from her past with Susumba. You know, what was Susumba like in her childhood? You know, when were times when her mother would cook Susumba? You know, those types of questions you have to ask. And when they start talking, you pick out what makes sense for you or what resonates with you.
I agree. Yeah, I think so as well. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. You have to really fight for those conversations to really, and you also have to just be patient and listen as well.
Right.
And they come at different stages, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely, and sometimes they come when you need it, because sometimes some things that I wasn't yet ready for, it's like, okay, now you're ready to kind of take on that wisdom and that passed down knowledge, and it comes to you. It really
One
does.
thing I learned from the ancestors, you know, is nothing before its time,
All
you know,
right.
and everything in stages. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to get everything one time and know everything one time, and you have to be patient, and you have to know that you're a student, and you have to know that, as you said the other day, that the work is constant. You never get to a place where you're just like, oh, I'm here
Yeah.
now. You know, everything is perfect and I have everything all figured out. And, you know, the work is never ending.
It's never ending, and there's always more for us to share as well, to teach the next generation as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's learning to not just receive, but to be able to,
Pass on.
right, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we had this conversation. I'm
Me
so
too.
glad.